this stage of the operation, we're going to do a whitewash on the inside of the house, but here's our 3 outside walls. Of course, what we need to do is turn them all over. It's just a lot easier to do it when they're flat like this, and when you don't have to worry about dripping onto the floor. So what we're going to need is paint, palette, and paint. Now, I'm not using white, I'm using oyster white, which is a creamier white. Again, wanting it to look a little bit aged, although we will do the final aging once it's all together. Which is what we're going to do after we do the whitewashing and install the windows. So the other thing that you're going to need is the piece of acetate. You can barely see it there. Piece of acetate that's in your kit. These are for the windows because we're going to install the windows after we do the whitewashing. You're going to need a couple of long clamps. Long clamps are ideal. You can do it with painter's tape. I've got long clamps, so I'm going to do it that way. And a brush, paintbrush, and some cloth to just get your paintbrush. We're going to dry brush this, so we need something to scrubble our paintbrush onto. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, shake the paint first. Okay, we're getting quite a bit of this, I think. Okay, so now what we want to do is get this pretty dry. You can see I'm sort of scrubbing it into the you want your lines to stand out pretty clearly, so see I put too much paint on in those places and the lines have disappeared. So again, we want it very now there's a good don't do this. See how I've got white paint right there? Gotta get rid of that because that's on actually the outside of the house. So you can actually stop your painting just a little bit closer to the Now, I'm sure you don't want to watch me do this for the entire thing, so I'm just going to pause the tape, and I'll be back when I've got all 3 walls scrubbed white. Okay, it just occurred to me as I started on this piece, I want my windows and door frame to be a natural color, so I do not want to get white paint on the crossbars of the windows, so you have to be careful about that. Also, there's nothing magical about white paint. If you want the inside of your cabin painted green or purple or pale blue, go for it. It's your cabin. You're going to have to decide what color you want your interior trim and your door frames. Those could be painted or those could be stained. I've chosen I'm going to stain mine to match the fireplace mantle, which we finally install that. So I'm going to proceed with the rest of the paint job here. Okay, now, so we have our 3 pieces here, and we are now ready to install our windows. So back to the little piece of acetate that you have. Now we're going to cut out the windows one at a time because it's very easy to lose these little guys. Okay, here's our first one. Oh, come on. Now they should just drop in to your window well, like that. And we are going to need a little bit of glue. Now again, when we're gluing this, you don't need to glue the acetate in place actually. We're just going to put glue on the edges here. And that should just slot into place. Oh, and this one is going to be awkward. There we go. We now have a glazed window. It's not so much that it's really important to have glazed windows in your cabin, but it is important. Oh, it is important not to get glue on your window frame, or not to get white paint on your window frame. Oh well, this is going to fit right in with my theory of a kind of a beat up old cabin. Okay, and now the other one. That in place, and this time we will. I'm not very good at remembering to do this. I always remember after over everywhere, but I'm just going to clean my hands up here quickly so I don't also get paint on this. Once that's dried, I will try and wash the paint off, the paint off that. Okay, so again we're, oops, clever. White paint and white glue look amazingly alike, and I'm using white paint to try and glue my windows in. I wonder if that's why that first one didn't stick properly. Okay. Okay, there's our two windows in place. Now we're going to take our last door frame here. And come on. I'm going to stain it the same color as the windows. I wonder if this stain will cover up the white paint. Sort of. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stain my door frame here. And a little sanding on the side. Just again to get the little tabs off. Okay. I think I'm going to do one more coat here. Okay, now get a little bit of glue on here. Okay, now we're ready to put this in place in the door. Now then, we don't have a nice line here to show where the floor is going to be, so I would suggest that you take your floor and make sure that your door frame is high enough off the floor so the floor will fit underneath it. So that looks about right. Okay. Now, let's stain our front door. Actually, this is something that, if I had been thinking, I would have stained before I actually assembled. But it looks like it's going to behave and stain up nicely. And we'll do the outside as well, or the inside, or whichever. Now, if you want your door to be closed, you should glue it in place before you put your door frame in. It does fit exactly into the door. I want my door open, so I have these door frames overlap slightly. You can see there that there's a little bit of an overlap. Now that's done on purpose, because I do want the door open and I want a surface to glue into. So my door is going to sit like that. You see from the top, it's going to be open like that. If you want your door closed, install your door and glue it in place before you put the second door frame on. Okay? So that I'll do later. Okay, now we are ready now to assemble this. Just want to make sure that, you know, I think I did use white paint here. I did. Look at that. How silly can you get? Okay. And of course, what did stick? The window stuck to the... It's amazing how you can make silly mistakes, you know, without even realizing you're making them. Like using white paint instead of glue. Okay, let's try this again. There. Already I can feel the difference as it slots into place. Okay, I was starting to say earlier, the purpose of the glazed windows is not so much so that you can have a cabin with glazed windows, but it keeps out the dust. It helps to keep out the dust. Okay, now I noticed that this is coming a little bit loose, so I'm just going to add a little glue in here. This is the side piece. I don't know why it's coming loose, but it seems to be coming loose. So we'll just add a little bit of glue in there and re-glue it. Okay, now when you're putting your house together, you'll notice it does not fit properly because at the bottom here, this is too long, this little piece here. Can you see that that overlaps? So what you're going to do is you're going to measure that with your X-Acto knife. Okay, see right here? It's too long for that nice little piece of wood, so you're just going to measure there. And then you are going to cut that loose. Now, when you put that on there, it's going to be a perfect fit. And you have to do the same thing at the other end. Again, measure with your X-Acto knife. So it comes to there. Cut that piece loose. And now it is going to overlap perfectly. Okay, so the final stage is here. Now, do you remember back in the day we painted one side of this black? Okay, that is the side that goes out. All right, so that when you look at your cabin, the black piece is facing you. Okay, so we will start out by using the right kind of glue here. This is wood glue. And we are going to apply it along here. Now once we've done this, we're going to set it aside and let it dry and move on to the outhouse. Meanwhile, we've got to get it put together. Now, while you're gluing your floor, glue all three sides. This is wood glue, so it doesn't glue quite as fast grab tacky, but at the same time, it's got a 10-minute window. So we've got to do this fairly quickly. Because we also need to put glue. So put that, set that down. We also need to put glue along the sides of the front. Okay, so both sides of the front. And just inside this little overlap piece here. On both sides of the Okay, now the first piece we're going to put in place is the floor along there. And then we are going to put this piece on. Whoops. And now there you go. There's how to make a mistake. See, I nearly glued the outside of the Okay. Now I'm going to get my big clamps. Oops, that's a little too tight. And I'm going to take one of my small clamps, turn this assemblage completely over, upside down, and I don't know if you can see in the video, but you can see how this front is starting to pull away a little bit there. So I'm going to use my smaller clamp and glue that in place. And there we go. Oh dear. Okay, we can set that aside and let it dry and go on to something different.